Hello everyone. In this video, we will try to solve an exciting coding problem from Codeforces. The problem is floor number. This is the link of the problem, and here we have the problem statement. If you haven't read the problem statement, then I would request you to pause this video right now and read this entire problem statement and try to understand it. If you have read it already, then that's very great. But yes, I would request all of you to at least read it and try to understand it on your own. So if you have read the problem statement, then we understand from the problem statement that there are two people in this problem or in this question, and the name of the two people are obviously Vasya and Petya. And Vasya wants to visit Petya's apartment. And Petya lives in a building which is structured in a special manner, where the numbering of the apartments starts from number 1, 2 and so on. So the numbering is sequential. And the other rule is that in this building, the first floor necessarily has two apartments. Necessarily, the first floor will have two apartments. Only and only two apartments. And on the next floor onwards, we could have X number of apartments. We could have any number of apartments. That's how the building is structured. So what we have to do is we have to help Vasya to find out on which floor Vasya has to go. We have to try to figure out on which floor Petya actually lives, or Petya's apartment is. We have to get the floor number for Vasya. So that's what we have to do. And two things are given to us, as I've already mentioned. N is Petya's apartment number. Petya's apartment number could be anything, 22, 31, 40, anything. And X is also given to us. X is nothing but the number of apartments on each floor. Remember, the first floor necessarily contains only and only two apartments. The first floor only contains two apartments, but on the next floor onwards, we have X number of apartments. On each floor, we will have X apartments, except for the first floor, where there are only and only two apartments. This might sound a bit confusing to you, but we will understand that with an illustration. So let me go to xCalidraw, which is a great website to explain things. So yeah, we have two inputs given to us, N, which is Petya's apartment number. So let's say, for example, Petya's apartment number is 6. Okay, let me write it properly. 6, yeah. And X, which is the number of apartments on each floor, are, let's say, 4. There are 4 apartments on each floor. Okay, so how will the building look like? Let's try to figure that out. So the building will look like this. On the first floor, there are 1 and 2 apartments. Remember, the first floor only contains 2 apartments. Then the third apartment will be on the next floor. 3, 4, and how many apartments are there on the next floor? On all the floor, there are 4 apartments on each floor, right? So 1, 2, 3 and 4. These are the 4 apartments on the second floor. And then 7, 8, 9, 10, then 11, 12, 13, 14 and so on. This is how this building will look like. What we have to do is we have to find out on which floor Petya's apartment is, and Petya's apartment number is 6. So we have to find out where this 6th apartment is. So from this we can clearly see that 6th apartment is on 2nd floor. So our answer will be 2. 2 will be our answer. We will take another example, but we will take another example from our own problem statement. 7 and 3. Let's take that, 7 and 3. So N is 7. What is N? Again, N is Petya's apartment number. and x is 3. What is 3? 3 is the number of apartments on each floor starting from the second floor. Okay, so on the first floor there are 1 and 2 apartments, just 2, nothing more than that. Then 3, 4 and 5 will be on the second floor. Remember, there are 3 apartments on each floor, that's why 1, 2, 3. And then 6, 7, 8 will be on the third, and 9, 10, 11, and it will go on. Which number apartment we have to find? We have to find out 7th number apartment. And where is it? It is on the 1, 2, 3. It is on the third floor. So the answer will be 3. Let's check whether that's the correct answer. So it is the first input, and the answer for the first input, the output for the first input is 3, and that's the answer, 3. So that's the correct answer that we got. We will take another example just for verification. Obviously it's not needed, but let's do that. So we will take this example, the third input from our question, that is 22 and 5. Okay, so for that I'll have to delete everything again. And so 22 is the apartment number of Petya, and 5 apartments are there on each floor. So the building will look like this: 1, 2. Remember, again, there are only and only 2 apartments on the first floor, and on the next floor onwards there are 5 apartments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 apartments again. Yeah. So on. So I wasn't willing to waste your time, so that's why I did this. So we have to find out on which floor 22nd apartment is, so that Vasya can go to that floor. So from the image from this illustration we can clearly see 22 is over here, and it is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is on the 5th floor. So 5 should be our answer, right? Let's check. For the third input, the output is 5. Yes, that's correct. So this is how the problem statement is, and we have to solve it. But first let me just get rid of all this. Yeah, so how we will be solving this? Before getting into the solution, first we will try to understand what could be the edge cases. Obviously there will be edge cases for this problem as well. So the first edge case could be, I'll write it down. The first edge case could be, what if n, which is Petya's apartment number, what if that turns out to be what if n is 1 or 2? If n turns out to be 1 or 2, then obviously we will not have to do any calculation, any kind of computation, because we know the first and the second apartment are necessarily on the first floor, right? 1, 2 on the first floor. So if n turns out to be 1 or 2, then obviously we will not have to do anything, we will just have to return 1, because on the first floor these 2 apartments are there, right? Yeah. The next edge case could be, what if x turns out to be 1. So if x turns out to be 1, then also we don't have to worry much, because if x turns out to be 1, let me show this to you: 1, 2, and x is 1, so 3, 4, 5. So whatever the apartment number will be, the answer will be minus that, 1 minus to that. So if the apartment number is 5, then the floor number will be 4. 5 minus 1, and that's the answer: 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the 4th floor. 5th apartment will be on 4th floor. 22nd apartment will be on 21st floor. 60th apartment will be on 59th floor. You can verify that. Why? Because the first floor necessarily contains 2 apartments. That's why this will be the answer. So if this becomes the case, then obviously we will return n minus 1. We will not check what the n is. We will not do any kind of computation or calculation. We will simply return n minus 1 if x turns out to be 1. This is another edge case that we have. Let me just get rid of all this. Now get to the actual problem and how we will be solving it. Trust me, it's the very easy problem. So the problem is the first floor. That's the problem, because if we were not having the first floor, the problem would have been very simple. Let's check. If this is a building, and we have to check on which floor 8 number is, then obviously, since there are 3 apartments on each floor, we will divide 8 by 3, and whatever the answer is and whatever we get as an answer as a result will be our answer. So it becomes very much simple, right? So the only problem we have is the first floor, and that is what makes things complicated, but we will try to solve that by ignoring the first floor. Are you getting the problem? Let me explain to you by the first example that we have 7 and 3. So Petia's apartment number is 7 and we have 3 apartments on each floor. So what we will be doing is, let me first draw this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and so on. What we will be doing is we will be ignoring the first floor, and we will do our calculations, and then whatever results we get after doing the calculation, we will add 1 to that result. Why we are adding 1? Because we have initially ignored the first floor. So whatever floor number we will be getting as the result, we will just add the first floor which we ignored in the beginning, right? That's how we will be trying to solve it. So how to do that? So what we will be doing is we will be ignoring that there exists some kind of a first floor where there are only and only 2 apartments. We will ignore that completely, and rather we will assume that all floors have X number of apartments. We will just assume this. And if that's true, if that is what we are supposed to assume, then our building will look something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and so on. Now things become very, very easy. We just have to divide, and whatever we get the answer, things become very much easy now and clear as well. So we have to find out 7th apartment, but instead of finding 7th apartment, we will find 5th apartment. Why? We will subtract 2 from n minus 2. And why we are doing that? We are doing that because we have ignored the first floor, and the first floor contains 2 apartments. That's why we will subtract 2 from n, and that turns out to be 5. So we will check for a 5th apartment, and 5th apartment is on 2nd floor, right? It's on 2nd floor. So our answer will be 2 plus 1, and that turns out to be 3. Why 2 plus 1? Because I have already told you that we will be adding 1 because we have ignored it. Yeah. So the way we will be solving it is very simple. We will take this n minus 2, which turns out to be 5, and then we will divide this 5 with x. What is x? X is 3. Yeah. And what will be the answer? 3 ones are 3, right? 3 ones are 3, then it then again it will be 1 and something. So the moment we get a decimal place, we will take the upper bound. Always and always we will take the upper bound. We will always take the upper bound. So if there is 1.1, we will take 2. If there is 2.1, we will take 3. If it is 20.1, we will take 21. That's what we will be doing. Only and only if it turns out to be 20 or 20.0, then we will consider it as 20. Otherwise, even if it is 0.1, we will take the upper bound, right? So 5 divided by 5 divided by 3 turns out to be 1 point something, and that equals to 2, and we will add 1 to that because we have ignored the first floor, which we have to add in the answer, and that gives us 3, and that's our answer. For 7 and 3, the answer is 3, and here we can verify that clearly, right? Let's do that once again for another example. Let me just get rid of, and this time let's take this example. It's a nasty one, but let's try to do that. 22, not like that, 22, yeah, and x turns out to be 5. So what we will do, we will ignore the fact that there exists a first floor where there are 2 apartments. We will ignore that. So our building will look like something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, why 5? Because there are 5 apartments on each floor. Then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, right? So we are given n to be 22, but remember, since we are ignoring the first apartment, we will take n minus 2, that turns out to be 20. So we will check for 20. Where is 20? 20 is over here. How to get where 20 is? That also we can't just look and do, because obviously computer can't see all of this. So we will have to calculate it. So how to check where 20 is? We will simply divide 20 by x. What is x? X is 5. So 5 fours are 20. So 20 has to be on the 4th floor. Let's verify that. This is the first floor, this is the second floor, this is the third floor, and this is the 4th floor. Yeah, we are correct. So 20 is on the 4th floor. So our answer will not be 4, but it will be 4 plus 1. Why? Because since we have ignored the first floor for the sake of calculation, so after the calculation is done, we have to remember it and we have to add it, and then we can submit our answer. So for 22 and 5, the result will be 5, right? Here is the result. Very much correct. One more edge case could be there. So the edge case would be, what if x turns out to be 2? Wait a second. Yeah, this is the edge case. If x equals 2, if x turns out to be true, then we will not have to do all that drama. Let's take some good variables. Now let's take an example with that. Come on, not this. Yeah, let's take an example. Let's say this is 5 and this is 2. So if x turns out to be 2, then our building will look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So if this is how the building will look, then we will not have to assume things and do all that kind of a drama. We can easily divide n by x, which means, what is n? N is 5, x is 2. 2 2s are 4 point something, and since there is decimal point, it will be equivalent to 3, and 3 will be our answer directly. We don't have to add 1 because we haven't ignored anything. We are not ignoring the first floor this time. If x is 2, if the number of apartments on each floor turns out to be true, then we will not ignore the first floor. We will do our calculations directly, and the results that we will be getting, we will be submitting it directly, because we haven't ignored anything, we don't have to add anything, right? So these are the all the edge cases. I hope the problem explanation made sense, and now we will try to submit it by writing our code. Obviously we will be choosing our favorite language, that is Java. Yeah, so the only thing that we will be requiring is scanner. So we will import that. Why we will require scanner? Because here we go, we have to input t number of test cases. T number of test cases we have to get the input, and also we have to get the input of n and x, where n is Petia's apartment number and x is the total number of apartments on each and every floor except for the first floor. So these two things we have to accept as the input, and there are t test cases. So we will be tackling that down. I'll say import java.util.scanner, obviously, and then we will create a public class, and the name of that class we will keep solution. Then we have a public static void main, obviously, public static void main string string args. Here we go. So the first thing that we will be doing is we will be taking our scanner object, new scanner system dot in. Till here everything was very much basic. We all know all of these things, right? It's not a problem. Now what we will be doing is we will be taking our first input, that is t. We have to take t. Here t was 4, so we have to take t. So int t equals to sc.next int. Yeah, and whatever t comes out to be, we have to iterate through it, and we have to again and again ask for the inputs, and we have to give the output again and again until these t number of test cases are done. So here t was 4, so we have t inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have t outputs, 4 outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4. So likewise we have to iterate it. So we will take our for loop, our favorite for loop for iteration, or iteration, as you feel comfortable to speak. So int I equals 0, I should be less than t, I will increment each time, and inside of this we have to take two inputs, right? What are the two inputs? N and x. So we will take n sc.next int and x sc.next int. Yeah, we have taken these two inputs, and now what we will have to do, we will have to start with our edge cases, right? We will have to start with our edge cases. So our first edge case would be if n turns out to be less than or equals to 2. What is n? Again, n is Petia's apartment number of Petia's apartments number, and that is what n is. So if n turns out to be 2, okay, let me just go at the top, and here I'll try to draw. If n turns out to be 2, then obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, no matter what it is, the answer will be first floor, because the first floor necessarily contains the two apartments. The first apartment and the second apartment is always and always there on the first floor. So if Petia's apartment is numbered as 2, then obviously it's gonna be on the first floor. And even if it is n equals to 1, then also it will be there on the first apartment. So we will simply return system dot out dot print ln, and we will return 1, right? Yeah, the next edge case would be else if. The next edge case would be what if x turns out to be 1. We have also taken that into consideration. If x turns out to be 1, then our building will look like this: 3, 4, 5, 6. So every apartment number will be on n minus 1 floor. So the fifth apartment will be on 4th floor. the sixth apartment will be on fifth floor. Why? Because on the first floor we have necessarily 2 apartments. That's why each apartment will be on one less than its own number. So fifth apartment is obviously on fourth floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it's on fourth floor. Sixth apartment is on fifth floor. So we will just say system dot out dot print what we are supposed to print, n minus 1. That's very simple, right? Another test case we have, else if n, not n, sorry, x turns out to be 2. If that's the case, then we will simply take int division is equals to n divided by 2. We have discussed all of this, so that's why I'm just going very fast. Modulus is equals to n modulo 2. Why we are taking modulus? To check whether there is a decimal point in it, because int cannot integer. We are taking the data type as int, right? And int cannot store decimals, so that's why we are taking modulus. We could have done the the conversion from one data type into another. That's another way to solve it, but we are not solving in that way, right? So we will be taking modulus separately, and then we will check since we can just divide it, and we don't have to add one, we don't have to consider the first floor. Now wait a second, let me show that to you. I'll go more on top. This is how the apartment will look if x is 2. So if we have to go to sixth apartment, then we can just divide 6 with 2, and the answer comes out to be 3, and that will be the floor number 1, 2, 3. Yeah, on third floor the sixth apartment is there. That's pretty much simple, right? So that's what we will be doing. We will simply check if modulus is equals to 0. We simply have to return system dot out dot print ln, and we will say n as it is, else system dot out dot print. This checks the condition whether there is decimal place or not. So if this turns out to be true, then it means that there is no decimal place. But if there is a decimal place, then we will say n plus 1. Why? Because we have to consider the upper bound, as you always remember, right? So yeah, if let's check, let's say if fifth is the apartment where we have to go, then 5 divided by 2 turns out to be 2 point something, right? So we will be considering it as 3, right? So we have just added 2 plus 1, that turns out to be 3, and that's the answer. The fifth apartment is on third floor. 1, 2, 3, it's there over here on the third floor, right? Yeah, so that's what we have done here, nothing much. And now comes the main part, the main problem. Here again we will be taking the first things first. We will be taking n to be n minus 2. As I've already mentioned, we are ignoring the first floor, so that's why we will subtract n by 2. If n turns out to be 22, we will be checking for 20. If n turns out to be 6, we will be checking for 4. And then at the end, after all the calculations are done, we will add 1, because we have ignored it, we have ignored the first floor, so that's why we will again add it before submitting the answer. And now what we will be doing, we will simply take int division equals n divided by x. This time we are taking x. We could have taken x over here also, since x was equals to 2, that's why I directly wrote 2, but it's safe to write x. Okay, so n divided by x, and int modulus is also n modulo x, and then we will check the conditions. If modulus is equals to 0, then we just have to return division. Oh sorry, we have returned n. Division we have to return over here. My bad. Division. Yeah, division we have to return. Division is the answer that we have, okay, not n. Division stores the answer that we have, after the division. Here we have done the division, and whatever the answer comes out of the division is our final answer, right? So division we have to return, and if there is a decimal, then obviously division plus 1 we will be returning. Here there was a decimal 2 point something, so we just added 2 plus 1 and we have returned 3. So we are adding 1 if there is a decimal. Since integers don't store decimals, that's why we are just adding 1. Anyways, coming over here, if modulus turns out to be 0, then we will simply say system.out.println, and we will say division. Just division? No, not just division. Even though there is no decimal place, still the answer will not be just the division. Why? Because we have ignored the first floor this time. We have ignored the first floor when we have said n is equals to n minus 2. So that's the reason why we will have to add 1 over here. Is that it? No, we have to take care of the else part as well. So here we will be taking system.out.println, and here we will be taking division plus 1 plus 1. Wait, what? Let me explain. Division plus 1 is the answer, right? And this plus 1 is there for the else. Why are we getting into the else condition? We are getting into the else condition because there is a decimal place, and whenever there is a decimal place, I've always said we are taking the upper bound. So even if there is 2.1, we will be considering it as 3. So that's why we are taking plus 1 extra. It's the same as it was in the above case, right? Nothing that different. It's actually very, very much similar. So this is what we have done, and obviously we cannot forget the semicolon, otherwise it will give us an error. Let's check whether the code is proper. Yeah, this is it that we have to do. Yeah, and one more thing we forgot is we have started this scanner class or object, so we have to close it as well. So after this for loop ends, where it ends, it starts from here and it ends over here. So we will just simply say sc dot close. That's it. That is it. I guess we should not be getting any errors, but if we get errors, then I'll have to check what is wrong in this, but I can't find anything wrong in this. Most probably there would be typos, otherwise it's all perfect. Typos or some minor mistakes, syntactical mistakes, yeah, those could be there. Otherwise it's all great. Yeah, so let's try and submit. Yeah, let me just zoom out a bit. It is in queue. Here you can check the verdict. Okay, wrong. Why is it showing wrong? Okay, the difference turns out to be okay. Let's check. What's the edge case? Okay, the problem is we have missed ln. The problem is we have missed ln. So what we'll be doing is we'll be copying this and we will be going back to submit, and here we have missed ln. See, that's the typo that we do. Here it is. Wait a second, let me zoom it. Here, can we see? I already said, I'm good in making typos. Here it is on line number 17. We just said system.out.print. We missed ln. If we just add ln, the problem will be solved. Let's submit. Here we are in queue, and this time let's hope the problem gets submitted. I'm pretty good in making typos. Let's check. Let's wait. Yeah, it is accepted. You can see it is accepted. Yeah. So yeah, it was a typo this time. On over here. Over here. Instead of writing system.out.println, I just said print, and that's why it was not able to understand it. But this time we have, checked it properly. Yeah, so it was a very easy problem, I know. I tried to, explain it very deeply, and yeah, this is not the only way to solve this problem. Obviously, there could be many ways to solve this problem. You can convert integers into, floors or double, and you can do all sorts of things. You can use even other Java more facilities that Java itself has, and you can try to get to the answer. But this was one of the approach that I tried. I hope you got the flow and you understood the problem. Yeah, thanks for watching.